Hello, welcome back to the Oberheim OB-Xa tutorial, another deep dive for you today, and we're dealing with sliding sequence, so guess what? It's a sequence. Let's sit and listen to it for a few seconds. And now I'm going to move the mod wheel, because this has got a big part to play in the sound. That's mod wheel at the top. Awful lot to get at here, and there are so many things all interconnected that we're going to have to kind of pick our way fairly carefully. And what I'm going to do this time is not only turn the entire modulation page off, but all the effects as well. Now if we have a quick look at the modulation matrix, everything that the modulation matrix is doing, and there's a lot of it, is all tied to the mod wheel. So as long as I've got that turned down, all of that's disabled as well. And we've basically taken the advanced screen completely out of the equation, and now we can just concentrate on the main synth. So let's do that. What are we left with? So a fairly static sound at this point. There is movement there, a little bit of filter movement, and I don't know whether or not you noticed, I often have difficulty spotting when perfect fifths are being played, but that's actually a chord. I've got two notes being played there. If we have a look at the cell button in chord selection, you can see that there's 7 semitone offset there, which is generating a perfect fifth, and I've got this kind of blind spot that I very often hear them as one note. It's kind of shocking really, but they're all playing perfect fifths. You can also see that we've got unison mode on. If we have a quick look at our unison settings, every key that I press is actually consuming 2 voices, and you can also see that we've got a polyphony of 4 notes. So if I press a single note and the chord function is on, playing 2 notes, and each of those notes is generating two voices themselves, then this is effectively a monophonic synthesizer. Now we can test that theory out by pressing C on its own. Sounds like that. Then I'll press E on its own. Sounds like that. And then I'll press C and E together. Exactly the same. So it is a monophonic synthesizer. It's just using 4 voices. We can also see that we've got some detune assigned to those voices, so we've got some lovely spread in between all of those different things. That's what's giving us that lovely thickness. If we hang around down here for a moment, we've also got stereo mode engaged with just past 50% spread. Let's see what's going on with that. So again, our secret hidden stereo compartment reveals nothing being done with the filter, so don't have to worry about that. But we do have the LFO and oscillator having something set. Now the oscillator, don't forget, does a detune, stereo detune. Let's try and catch that. A little bit difficult because we've got this detune over here. I'm going to leave that there. Just listen to the contrast that the voice spread is giving us, stereo spread. So that's right down the middle. And there's maximum detune applied. And then we've also got the LFO at 180 degrees. What that's doing is throwing anything that the LFO is doing, it's throwing it hard left and right. Now, the modulation bank, where the LFO is controlled, is telling us that mod 2 is not being used at all, so don't have to worry about that. Mod 1 is, and it's assigned to filter frequency. Remember earlier I said there was a little bit of filter movement. It's coming from this, and it was really slow, and I had to let the key play the note play for quite a while because the rate is so slow. It's set to 4 bars. If I crank all of that up so that we can really hear it, we'll hear this stereo bounce. There it goes. decentralize the LFO spread. Now it's just pulsing in and out. Absolutely lovely movement, brilliant stuff. Done a lot of tweaking with all of that, so I'll quickly throw the sound away, get rid of all of our advanced stuff again. I could have saved it as a preset and probably should, frankly, but we're back here now. Okay, so what have we got going on with the oscillators? Both oscillators are in play. Oscillator 2 is the louder. And we've got a little bit of cross mod, which means that oscillator 2 is detuning oscillator 1. Let's catch that. Cross mod is a violent, horrible, nasty thing if used to excess, but subtly it's just providing that extra colour. I keep using the word colour with slight detune because it just spreads the pitches of these complementary notes out and just gives us extra thickness. Too much of it, you know, you can quite quickly become fairly unpleasant. We've got both triangle and sawtooth being applied. And with oscillator 2, just got a really simple triangle wave. Remember, triangle is the one that's in use when neither of the lights are lit. And that's not detuned at all. Very quick glance at the envelopes tells us there's nothing to see. Instant attack, no decay, straight into sustain, no release, so it's just straight on and off from the envelope's perspective, and the vibrato unit isn't used in this sound. So that's our core sound examined. We know what's going on under the hood now. Let's throw all that away again and now start having a look at the advanced pages, because there's so much going on over here, it's wonderful. I'm going to turn all the effects off again for the moment so that we can concentrate on the modulations. And don't forget, I've still got my mod wheel turned down. We'll get to this later. Let's hear them all together for a moment. So oscillator 1 is cycling every 2 bars, and you can see that the advanced page has basically been used as a sequencer, as a step sequencer. Each one of these levels is a different pitch, and the oscillator's therefore playing all of those pitches. Let's turn all the rest of the stuff off, and then it's much easier to hear. Lovely little curves that gives you those portamento effects. What's oscillator 2 on its own doing? Don't know if you've seen any of my discussions of these advanced pages, but just click below the little power button if you want to move between the various functions. If you inadvertently click on the name, it goes wrong. Now this is a 1 bar cycle. So when we bring both of those in together, this one's taking twice as long. And then bring the filter frequency back in. Let's have a look at the envelope. So this is about 50% on the filter frequency, which means we're virtually turning this knob up to a maximum of, well, all the way if we get 50% plus 50% from its starting position. Don't forget, negative values can pull it down as well, so this control is being modulated in both directions. And this is also happening at 1 bar, so the oscillator 2 frequency and the filter modulation are perfectly synchronized. So that's all the functions dealt with. Now time to deal with the elephant in the room. What happens when we turn the modulation wheel up? Well, all hell breaks loose, and I don't particularly fancy tracking 6 things at a time. So what I'm going to do is save the current state of the synthesizer as a preset. Now I can get back here whenever I want. So I can throw 5 of these modulation settings away and just concentrate on each one of them individually. So first one's first, MMF3 cutoff. What the hell is MMF3? Well, if we click on it, we very quickly find out that it's something to do with the effects bank. It's not a delay, it's not a reverb, it's the third thing. Let's have a look over at the effects bank, multi-mode filter. So we're going to have to turn this back on in order to hear this effect. Modulation wheel all the way down. Modulation wheel all the way up. Much thinner. So this is applying 40% modulation to the cutoff of the high pass filter, and we can see it visually. If I turn the modulation wheel all the way down and turn the knob itself up, you get a visual representation of what 40% looks like. So that's what it's doing via the virtual control. Now, unfortunately, when modulation matrix effects applied to the synth, we don't get a visual representation of it, but it's exactly the same effect. Wheel all the way up, wheel all the way down. Now I can recall my preset, which gets all of my values back, because I don't want to have to type these values in manually. And now I can throw everything except the master volume away. I don't think we need a degree to figure out what this is going to do. So all the way down, all the way up, gets quieter. Don't forget, this is a negative modulation, so when the wheel's all the way at the top, it's getting quieter. That's because it's doing so many other things. It's introducing so many additional harmonics to the sound that it would naturally get louder if left to its own devices, so it's just pulled down a little bit. And that's the second one dealt with. Back to our temporary preset. Mod wheel all the way back down. Now don't forget, we've got 2 different filter frequencies competing with each other here. Mod wheel all the way down, mod wheel all the way up. So when this is at maximum and this is at maximum, and this is already at 60 odd %, 376 Hertz to start with, then you can't go past 100%. There's nothing past 100%, but it is, the filter is fully open. As bright as you can get. Wheel all the way down. Jolly good. Next. Now this is going to mess with your head. Function 3 amount, negative modulation. What it's basically saying is when we increase the modulation wheel, we're pulling this value, the function 3 amount, down, so it's having less of an effect. In other words, the presumption that we made earlier about the filter frequency, all of these values being added together going past 100, it drags it back into a range where all the values are actually still within 0 to 100, presumably. Now, if you want to go and do the maths and figure out what the absolute limit is, there are your numbers. So we are always still going slightly past 100 when everything is cranked to the maximum, but the usable frequency range over which all of these modulations are applying is being dragged back into a more sensible domain. On top of all that insanity, we've also got the modulation bank itself modulating the filter frequency, at which case I get up and just wander off in a random direction. Value number 5 is reverb. So in order to hear this, I need to turn the reverb on. Mod wheel all the way up. Lots of reverb. Mod wheel down. Nice and dry again. And finally the delay. Turn that on. Mod wheel all the way down. Little bit of delay. Mod wheel all the way up. Ping ponging. Much more. How much more? 20%. Back to the full sound, completely unedited. I think there's a sweet spot about halfway up the wheel before all those frequencies get too out of hand. That's really, really nice. When you push it all the way, it kind of goes into an otherworld, ethereal place, and then you bring it back. Really fabulous, what a sound. That's the end of the deep dive. Please do hit the like button if you enjoyed it, really helps me out. And it's also the end of the video series as well. Thoroughly enjoyed doing this one. What an amazing synth. For something that would have cost you the price of a small family car 40 years ago, to have it just given to us as a complete emulation is what a privilege, absolutely awesome. And I think Arturia have actually done a brilliant job of sympathetically adding advanced functions without, stripping its soul bare. So I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, and you're happy to subscribe, then you'll catch me for the next series. Hope to see you then. Thanks a lot.